At the moment of me recording this video, I've watched 117 new releases from 2024, and we are going today to be talking about the top 10 movies of the year. It's going to be 11. We'll get to it when we get to it. You'll understand what I mean. But this year had some great movies, but it wasn't to the level of 2023. 2023 had two of the top 10 movies of all time, in my opinion, that being Oppenheimer and Across the Spider-Verse. Those movies are basically unbeatable, and if they were on this list, they'd be 1 and 2 again. That doesn't mean there wasn't great movies this year. Before I get into it, I want to say that I am posting the best and the worst movies of the year at the exact same time. So the card right up in the corner is going to be the worst list. So please go watch that after this, or watch it first, watch this after, and let's get into it. At number 10, we have Transformers 1. This movie shocked me so hard. The advertising looked really bad, but I kind of like some of the Transformers movies. Bumblebee's good, and I even liked Primal, or whatever it was called last year. I thought it was fun enough, but they aren't peak cinema. And then this came out of nowhere, but they ended up making the best Transformers movie of all time. They made it set purely on the Transformers planet, and everything about the relationship between Megatron and Optimus, and how they became primes, and how their cores got stolen, and everything built on this movie to give us amazing lore, amazing characters. And the only thing you could maybe say is bad is you just didn't like some of the comedy. But most of the comedy worked for me, and the voice acting was stellar. I was surprised that Thor made a good Optimus Prime, but Chris Hemsworth did it. He nailed it. That being said, we're going to number 9, a movie on the exact opposite spectrum, Anora. People aren't going to be surprised by seeing this on this list. Anora is talk of the town, going to become one of the Oscar, probably Best Picture winner, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. This movie's not only just a great character drama, but once it gets to the middle and there's this screwball comedy to it, I was losing it in the theaters. I think that's the hardest I've laughed all year, other than something a little later on this list. I compare it as the top 2 for the most I laughed. But Anora was just a special movie. I knew everybody was hyping it up, and I thought I wasn't even going to go see it because I was a little bit skeptical about watching a movie about sex workers walking into this theater alone as a 20-something dude. It ended up giving us some very strong characters, and the performances were stellar. It's a weird movie to explain because I've just not really seen much like it. But odds are if you're watching this video, you've seen it, so you're not too surprised that Anora is on my list. But going down to number 8, we have Civil War, the Alex Garland masterpiece, basically. This is one of the best war movies to come out in recent years. It is so cool. The action is insane, seeing Washington, D.C. as a battleground. And for the small portion that Jesse Plemons had in this movie, I genuinely think he could get an Oscar nomination and possibly an Oscar win for supporting actor on this. That scene is one of the most intense scenes, if not the most intense scene of the year for me. I love how this movie highlighted the journalism aspect to it and showed off that, yeah, the modern wars are not fun. They are nasty, and especially when they're on your own land, you don't want to imagine it. And now is where we get to the sort of odd pick, because I did see this in theaters. It wasn't a movie form, but does it really count? Because at 7.5, we have Dawn to Dawn First Encounter. Yeah, it's the first 3 episodes strung together, but edited in a way where it was smooth across the board. It's one of the best new shonens that we're going to get in who knows how long. Dawn to Dawn has given us some of the best female characters of recent years, and the way it mixes genres is kind of insane. How it goes from this almost romance to this almost horror, and how it meshes in such a way that it feels seamless. So Dawn to Dawn is just special. It's a great written story, and I love the manga. I love the series so far. But does this count as a movie? If you count it, then yes, it would be technically number 8, and Transformers 1 would go all the way down to 11. But I don't. So I'm putting it here just because I did watch this in theaters. It counts as a movie a little bit. But at the real number 7, we have Furiosa. I'm a little upset that this movie kind of flopped because Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, they gave spectacular performances for these wild and rowdy characters. The lead up into Fury Road was very strong, and it makes me like that movie even more. But the action in this was stellar. The story was really intriguing. It's a movie I kind of want to rewatch, but for what it is, very, very strong action flick. One of the best of the year. And speaking about one of the best of the year, number 6, Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie was an event. This was one of the most fun theater experiences I had during the year. And a lot of people will sit there and complain about some of the little story aspects that are a little funky. But some movies, like people say, it's not about what happens in it, it's about the vibe. Sort of the same thing where it's like people can critique like climax. If you do not like the way that everything flashing lights and the dancing for 15 minutes at the beginning and the end, you're not going to like that movie for the plot. But if you enjoy the vibe of that movie, you're going to love it. And that's the same thing. I love the vibe of Deadpool and Wolverine. And the plot, it's decent. It's solid enough. But the action and the camaraderie is just unmatched to this movie. And as time goes on, I just enjoy it more. And speaking of that, one that rose on rewatch, because I did end up watching this one twice in theaters, one time early at a special screening in New York City with the cast. So that was a special experience. But I also did go back and see it with my friends and family when it came back into theaters over here. That being Twisters. It is one of the best fun, stupid summer blockbusters. The character motivations make sense. They don't bear it down with cliches. And just seeing the tornadoes and stuff was just so cool. I've always loved sort of weather phenomenons. I follow a bunch of them on YouTube. But giving a movie like this $150 million, even though you knew it wasn't going to make a huge amount of profit, just to make some of the coolest weather scenes of all time, you gotta love it. I love my Godzilla movies. I love my destruction movies. But not only did it have that, it had fun characters, fun story. Everything just lined up very well to make this one of the best blockbusters of the year. Now, my next 3 are going to be the underrated Andrew picks. Number 1's not going to surprise anyone. So we're going to go with number 4 as Strange Darling. This is a movie that advertises itself as the end of a serial killer's long streak of killings, and the story's told out of order. This is the last day of it all. So you sit there and you walk into this movie like, where's it going to go? And then they start you right near the end of it with like part 4 or 5 out of 6. And while they slowly piece together the movie, giving you the parts out of order, it just makes the twist and turns so much more fun. The action's great in this. The tension is unbreakable. I kind of have a poster falling on the ground behind that mirror, but I ended up getting the Strange Darling poster from my friend. He's going to give it to me in a couple days. So I'm geeked out about to get the theater poster of this movie I loved so much. And I think on rewatch, it could possibly move up to 3rd place, to 2nd place. But these next few are just so strong. With that being said, number 3 is Late Night with the Devil. This is the best horror movie to release since Talk to Me released last year. This movie is spectacular. The concept, the vibe, everything is written perfectly. And on top of that, the performances and the tension is just built up all the way until the end. There's a little scene near the end where they're slowly rolling through the tape. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm sitting there in the theater with my father and my best friend on the edge of my seat. And then when the reveal shows, I haven't gotten a thrill like that through my body and spine since I watched Hereditary for the first time. That movie got to me. And even my dad was sitting there like 58 years old, and he's like, you don't see movies like that anymore. That shook me. That was scary. Yeah, they used AI for some of the art, but the movie's just so good that forget it. I don't care. You made something that was that spectacular. I'll let it slide. And that is the last 9 out of 10 on this list, because the next 2 movies on this list, I believe, are 10 out of 10s. Late Night with the Devil and Strange Darling do come very close to that 10, but it just needed that one more thing. And with Memoir of a Snail, that one more thing was making me cry. This is a fictional life story about a character done in a very disgusting and gritty animation style that, honestly, looking at the trailers, I was like, this is kind of gross. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. But when my friend said, it's really good, you're going to like it, I just went to it. It was the last day it was available in my theaters, sat down in one of the front rows, and as the movie kept going on, I was so engrossed, so like heartbroken for this fictional character that as it kept moving forward and she eventually realized where the box was, I lost it. I bawled out seeing about how connections are made and how connections are kept. There are people that are going to use you and abuse you, but you can't let those people be the ones in control of you. You got to let the people that are there for you and care for you in and stay and hold them tight. And I know the director of this movie made another movie called Max and Mary, which I haven't seen yet, but supposedly it's better than this. That movie immediately has potential to be one of my top 50 movies of all time, because this one already comes close. But with that being said, there is only one movie on this list that enters my top 50 of all time, and it's no surprise to anyone. It's Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 is a masterclass in drama, action, storytelling. I love the sort of anti-hero, sort of almost Christ-like figures. Like half of my profile picture is Lelouch from Code Geass. And Lelouch is a character that is a prince of a kingdom that got banished. But once he received powers, he ended up slowly rising back into power. Does that not sound like Dune to you? These are my favorite archetypes of characters of all time. And Dune just does it the best. Part 1 was already in my top 50 movies, but you knew that that was just the beginning. And when you finally see the climax, the battles, even the directing of the fights on that planet where it's all shot in black and white, everything in this movie is not only shot beautifully, directed beautifully, the music's amazing, the characters are phenomenal, and the action and scenes in this movie are unmatched. Easily top 15, maybe top 10 movies of all time for me, because Dune Part 2 is just that good. But with that being said, that's the best movies of the year. Go check out my worst movies of the year and see me get very angry at some garbage.